Well. This last episode was a lot of different things, wasn't it? I'd say interesting is one of those things for sure. Love Squad, how you doing? My name is Kim, aka Glam Powered, and this is Fandom. We're talking about Lovecraft Episode 4, A History of Violence. So, back to those interesting bits. That was definitely, or I should say, this was definitely a bridge episode. It wasn't as OMG to me as the last three episodes, but that ending, though, that ending was a whoa. Spoiler alert, if you ain't watch. Now let's talk. First about the series, about this series structure. That way you'll know what to expect. I want you to know how I organize my notes. And welcome if you're new and you don't know this already, but here we go. So first we have people, okay? I should say this at the beginning. I don't always expect for me to follow the exact structure. I'll announce if I skip something, but I just have my template. So we have people for this episode, all right? And I just talk about the people. I've been doing some name explaining as of late. I expect that I won't do that for all of the episodes, but so far I have. I don't think I'm doing name explaining this time. But anyways, people, who are they, their significance, etc. Context is very important. We need to know what is going on. Concepts, okay. I always have some concepts going on. This is more like my analysis and just what came to me while I was watching. Favorite scene, yes. Prediction, of course, we need to know what's going to happen next, what I think is going to happen next. I've been accurate so far, pretty impressive. I'm an intuitive TV watcher, I like to say, or intuitive series watcher for sure. Questions, tidbits, which is a little bit of like factoids and analysis. So yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so actually first, we need to talk about the people. Let's start with Will. One of the most interesting people in this episode. We got to see a lot of him. We've seen him already. We've talked about him already. But Will had a stronger presence this episode. I didn't know he was so violent. He was like presented as like the humble servant, maitre d'. Nah, Will is a gangster. He's a gangster that obviously protects Christina. And we've talked about him and Christina being this Bonnie and Clyde type duo. But this episode was interesting because we saw Will with somebody. I won't say all the things. Maybe I will. We'll see how I do later, how I feel later. But anyways, his presence was interesting. What you guys think? I'm curious, as we're getting to see more of him and see this different side of him. What you guys think? Now, I'm going to say this too. I still plan on doing the book versus series episode, a special like video about that, because I have like 2 more hours or 3 more hours left of the audiobook, and there are definitely some differences. So Will does not exist in the book. But I understand who he's meant, what the void that he's meant to fill in this series. His presence is needed. I'm going to say that for the story to flow. What do you guys think? I know that people have mixed feelings about him. Some people think he's creepy. Some people might think he's hot. Some people are like, he's just weird. What do y'all think? We know that he's not being sincere. And like I said, I've been listening to the book. So I'm comparing and contrasting to the book. There was something going on that he hasn't quite said yet. that I don't know how they're going to roll it out in the series, because the series has some serious deviations. But I know that overall there's going to be something. There is a deal that needs to be made or expressed, and he's going to be the person that does that with his lover. I'm trying to like be a bit coy for those who haven't watched and not spill all the beans. But what do you guys think? What do you think? And we haven't gotten the questions yet, but ladies, if Will came to you and sat next to you at a bar, you know, would he be fair game? Would you be going home with him? Right? That's a question. So that's my little commentary on Will in this episode. Now we have to talk about the police captain. So Lancaster is, and this is true to the book, he's the lodge master or whatever for Chicago. And obviously there's some bad blood between the Blade Whites and Chicago. Like, something happened. I'm not going to say what exactly or whatever. They talk about it in the book a little bit. You know, it's just a power grabby type of thing, disagreements, etc. So I wasn't expecting that. That was a surprise to me. So we were introduced to him more formally as a lodge master. I'm not sure what weight he actually pulls, and I mean like what magical weight he actually pulls in the series. In the book, we get a little bit more detail about that, but I just think he's like an enthusiast, if you will. He feels like more of an enthusiast than like someone who's figured out a spell or something as impressive as the imperviousness that the Blade Fights experience. So there is that. And then we have, I'm getting sad, you guys. I really am. I'm getting sad. Then we have Yahima. Okay. And Yahima is the two-spirited woman that we see later on in the series. And we know what happens to her. Once again, I'm trying not to spoil it too much, but I just thought her character was really interesting. And I thought her story was really interesting as well, because we got a little bit more into the history of what happened pre-Tick, right? We got to see what kind of man Braithwaite was. We knew that he wasn't that good of a man, obviously, but we got to see more of that this episode. And like, how horrible was that at the end? How horrible was that? And I keep going back and forth about people dying and not really being dead. I still feel that way about George. I'm like, is he really dead? Is he gonna come back? And he hasn't. And I'm like, okay, he hasn't come back yet. So now I'm starting to kind of feel like maybe he's really gone. But I know that she's not. I don't have a complete ambivalence, but like I said, this is a supernatural series. Same thing I said about George. Anything's possible. And this woman was reanimated. She literally reanimated in this series, right? She had been dead for what? Or in this episode, she had been dead for what, 100 years, and she comes back. I want to say also, shout out to representation. Okay, I'll let you guys watch. Like I said, she's two-spirited, if you know the significance of that. And she is of an indigenous group of people, native group of people. That was interesting too. We have to like honor representation and shout that out. But yeah, this episode, she was, to me, the most interesting character, but Will definitely, had his moments. So that's people. Now let's get into context a bit. So in this episode, we have Christina showing up on Letty's doorstep, rolling up in that sexy silver Batmobile, that silver, silver Bentley, with Rihanna in the background. getting it. Hey, shout out to the music. I really loved the music. I know for some people too, the music is like weird because it doesn't match the time. It's, what is it, asynchronous? Don't care. I love it. It just speaks to the culture and the sentiment. And I think Rihanna and Christina, like her music, that's like a perfect pairing. So I loved it. Okay. So Christina shows up on Letty's doorstep and realizes that she can't just walk on up in there because the priestess has done her job. She has sealed the house. She has protected it from evil. Um, Obviously, we don't trust Christina, but I love her. I respect her. And, you know, she's an opportunist. I personally don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. You have to get yours how you can get yours, especially when your circumstances dictate that. And in this situation they do, you know. They're not trying to give her money like the song. They're not trying to give her respect. So she has to take it. It is what it is. We can't all be little feeble, obedient women. No, we can't all do that. Some of us have to be like Rihanna. We got to go out and get ours. We got to be like Christina. We got to go out and get ours, and that's fine. So she shows up, and Letty's not having it, and neither is the house. All right. Tick is angry, obviously affronted from his last confrontation with Christina, and he's wanting to figure out how to get back at them, at the family, the Braithwaites. So he's like, okay, how can I do this magically? Because you have to fight fire with fire. And next thing you know, they're going on this road trip to find the missing pages to the Book of Names, because that's what has to happen. And Montrose. I didn't put him in the people section. I don't know why I didn't. Montrose. That man is so interesting and so resonant with me. It makes me sad. It makes me a little emotional to think about how many black men are like him to this day even. It's really, really sad. And it's also just heartbreaking. It's understandable. It's a lot of things. You know, we have to talk about him a little bit, because I did not put him in the people section, but his performance and his actions in this episode, out of everyone, his stood out the most in terms of just the brevity of it all and the psychosis of it all. Like, wow, you know, he and Tick got into it, of course, and as they usually do, and Letty had to be the unifier and be like, look, we have a problem. Montrose was knowledgeable about some things and he was not forthcoming about it. You know, he had the bylaws, he had read all of them, knew them by heart, and he proved to be useful in their Raiders of the Lost Ark adventure that they took to go get these pages. So that was great. Mission accomplished, but not without Montrose and his agenda and his psychosis coming in and basically bleeping us up, because that's a part of the patterning, and that's the problematic part of the patterning. He understands, but he also understands his version of the truth and his version of reality. And so there's that. I also have to talk about Ruby. You know, Ruby went through it this episode, and Ruby had a little fun this episode too, and now she's being introduced to magic. And that aspect, at least, that theme is also true to the book. I don't know how they're going to unwind it, roll it out, I should say, in this upcoming episode. But I have to say, oh my God, my favorite part of the book so far has been this part, when Ruby gets introduced to magic in the book. Yeah, like, it's really, I mean, the book is so good, you guys. Read it or listen to it. But this was just like, oh my God, Matt Ruff, sir. Like, I love experiencing the mind of a writer. I was just like, who thought of this? So I don't know what's going to happen, because like I said, there have been some serious deviations. So I'm not going to speak on that. I don't know if they're going to do exactly the same thing, but I'm going to say I would really appreciate it if they did. So we'll see what happens. But oh God, I was like, ooh, I'm gonna have to listen to this part again. Like I really, 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 really love this part of the book. It's been my favorite. Um, Something else. We know Hippolyta's going on her adventure, and I'm gonna speak to that too. She goes on an adventure in the book. She has more presence in the book than she has in the series thus far, and she's significant. She's important. Her role in this story and the puzzle pieces that are coming together, like they're important. I absolutely, once again, that was maybe my second most favorite part actually, was her scene or her adventure in the book. I pray that they remain true to the book with that too, because we see them. I mean, there's a deviation. I'll get into that when I do the video for about the differences that I've noted, but it's just so interesting what happens in the book. I would love to see that depicted visually in this series. So I pray for that. I really do. I don't think they're going to have enough time to do that and Ruby in one episode. I mean, they both deserve their own episodes in their own right. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah. Let's just say Hippolyta, I mean, she finds out things too, and she gets introduced to magic as well through of the celestial variety, the dimensional variety in the book. I don't know what they're going to do in the series, but I hope, I hope that they keep it the same. And it looks like I mean, so far we have her with the, what is that thing called? I can't remember, the solar system model, the Aura, I think it's called. And we know she's into constellations. She's named her own, planet in the book. She names, a planet. And she has her telescope and a history with her dad. Like that's a significant part of their relationship. So we'll see how that rolls out. So we have all these things happening, and the whole adventure with in the book, I mean in the series, it's Tick, Montrose, and Letty, and later on Yahima that go on that have this adventure. In the book it's different. It's not the same. But they still have an adventure that's very similar to what's depicted. But that's it. Yeah. So that's that. Now let's get into the concepts. First, let's talk about entitlement. This is one thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way about Christina, and I was so happy when she was not able to just waltz all up in Letty's house like that. B, I don't care. I don't care who procured the house officially, like what money was got, like how the money was got. That's not your house. Your name is not on that deed. Like you don't get to just waltz all up into somebody's house like that. No. We don't do that. You are rude AF. And I mean, the whole concept of, but I'm acting nice and behaving nice. Yeah, but you're not actually nice. Like clearly you have some sort of agenda, possibly some malicious intent if you don't get what you want. So it's not actually nice. I really didn't appreciate that behavior from her, but it's also true to her character, right? She's self-serving. So whatever, that was an issue. Entitlement. And then the tango web between Christina and Letty, they seem to be paralleling each other. They really, really do. As women who have very powerful voices that are sometimes questioned in the society that they live in, the times that they live in, who are also women, once again, who have proven to be resourceful in their own ways, proven to be on the free-spirited wild child side of the spectrum. In a lot of ways, it's interesting because they do parallel each other. And Christina even talks about how, she said to Letty, don't let these men fool you into thinking. She was referring to Tick, but don't let the men fool you into thinking that it's only about them or whatever. Like we have some sort of power or say in what happens, with what's going on right now too. And I do think subconsciously in a way, first of all, a bad bee always recognizes a bad bee, period. may not like that bad B. Okay, they don't, I mean, Letty does not like Christina, right? May not vibe with her, but it's something about that. We have that concept of the alpha male. We also have that concept of the alpha female. Like there's just something about it. You always know who your vibrational equal is. And we see that kind of level of rapport being expressed in this episode between Letty and Christina. Like they know that they're on the level, period. They are. It is what it is. They're on the level. So there is that. I was going to say something and y'all, I forgot my other point. But I'm just going to say, like, it's just interesting to see their parallels and how they are mirroring and shadowing each other in a way. It's very interesting. Even though they're at opposite ends of this tug of war, if you will, you know, that force is there. Then we have one right doesn't correct a million wrongs. And it's so funny because I was listening to the book today and this same sentiment was brought up. So in the book, Montrose is having a conversation with a Braithwaite. I'm not going to say who because I'm going to talk about more about that in that video that I'm going to do. But anyways, he said this, like, you just think you're doing all these good deeds and stuff, and that's just going to make up for all this BS that you put my family through? Nah. And Christina, back to her in the series, in this whole entitlement bit. Like, no, nah. Like, money does not solve everything. It does not solve everything, and it does not absolve everything. Like, so much stuff has happened. Like, some S is just not about the money. It's not. And you know what? Shout out to me for learning how to clean up my potty mouth just enough to pass muster on YouTube. It took me a couple of episodes. My last episode was the first time that I didn't, say the whole words. So we'll see how I do in this episode. I'm doing pretty good so far. I seem to have gotten the hang of this. But anyways, one wrong does not correct them. One right does not correct a million wrongs. It doesn't. It just doesn't. It doesn't. I'm like, no. You stank, you stay stank, you've been stank, you gon' stank. Until you don't, stankness can go away, but it has yet to go away yet. We haven't seen that yet. So there's that. Shout out to Letty's temper. Oh my God. Speaking of her temper, I loved the library scene. First of all, I don't know, like libraries are such a special thing for me. I low-key lived in a library when I lived in New York. I love their library system. Oh my God. Like I missed it. And then also being a library kid, I remember going to the library as a child. I volunteered at the library in the summertime. Like I just loved the library. And I love to see this library in this time, even though it was a colored library. It was just so wonderful. I love being or witnessing an era where people actually read. Of course we read today, but it's not the same, right? It's just not, books are not the ting that they used to be, like I love it. And I love the concept of literacy, and maybe that's the teacher in me, but shout out to the little boy that was trying to get his read on. He was so cute with his little glasses and his little attitude. Okay. Yes. Young scholar. So Letty's temper though. Letty was mad from the last episode to this episode. Like she been mad. She stayed mad. I don't think she ever really diffused. It doesn't look like it. Do y'all think she's getting angrier and more aggressive as we go along? I'm not, I can understand why we're in an escalating situation. I get why, but she was just mad and a bit impulsive, So I just wanted to touch on that. I guess my concern is that she keeps that in control so that she doesn't create problems for them later on down the road, because that type of temper and anger, if you let it rage on too long or for too much and you let it go on unchecked, it could cause problems. So there's that. Then we have Machismo. I do want to touch on that too. Tick, Montrose, the police chief, all of them, in different ways, the different faces of machismo. When the police officer called Christina a cunt, that was disrespectful. Like, that was disrespectful. It was just like, ew, you're ew, ew. No wonder why your lodge is not as powerful. Ew. And I try to watch my karma and not hope for bad things, but I'm just gonna say that the police chief, he is a vicious, vulgar person. And he has some pull, but he don't have that much pull. He don't have that much pull compared to the people he's up against. It's gonna be interesting to see what karma bestows him. And I'm making a mini prediction. I wonder if Will is gonna be the one to bestow that karma on that man and his people, because he's not all that, you guys. He's really not. Compared to who he's up against, he's not. Everything's relative, and he's not. He's just not. He doesn't have the pull. He doesn't. He doesn't have the pull against Tick either, truth be told. So that would be interesting. That would be interesting. We saw what happened to one of Letty's neighbors, right? They thought they had the pull too, till they didn't. Ha! Karma. Y'all know I love karma. So there's that. Shout out to Christina's driving. I wish I could have an imperviousness situation on my car, because I low-key drive like that. Speed demon. I have gotten a ticket or two. I drive like that. And in a perfect world, I would be able to drive like that and not have any issues, but it is what it is. I love the way she drives. It's wonderful. It suits her and it fits her. Then we have, I already talked about Will and how violent he is, but once again, henchman, very henchman-like. Shout out to his violence. Oh, I was talking to one of my students about this. I'm a teacher by trade. And he was like, I like violent series. I was like, me too. Me too. So he was violent. Then we have, Ruby's adventures. We already know Adventures with Ruby. Getting it in, singing and doing all these things, trying to get her job at that racist department store. And I never shopped there. They used to have one in San Francisco, I think, but I think they closed it. I'm knowing that they're still open in Chicago though. Like, I think that's like a Chicago institution or whatever. I can't think of the other word right now. Marshall Fields though. So yeah, it makes me think about all the stores. I'm like, were they all racist like this at one point? And then now I'm starting to feel away in my aura. I'm like, I don't know about Macy's, but most likely, right? So now I'm starting to feel away, and I'm kind of like, ugh, they have such good stuff, but I don't know. And yeah, shopping while Black, complicated because of the history. And you just don't know people's real agendas underneath all, stuff. Anyways, so let's talk about this theme of disappointment. Ruby, it's just the sting, it's just the stench of disappointment that emanates from her aura. She's one of those women who keeps trying, and she stays getting knocked down. And it is such a disappointing, upsetting thing to witness. It's hard to watch somebody go through something like that. And I'm thinking about The Wiz. You can't win, you can't get even. I'm thinking about Michael Jackson, the Scarecrow's character, like that whole vibe. It's just like, ugh, it's so disappointing, like, ugh. That's another common thing that many human beings experience in different ways in life, but Black people, in terms of like the advancement and the progress, and you keep trying. Yes, we've had wins. Shout out to the Obamas. But it's just, that was difficult to watch and difficult to feel. So I know that this next episode is going to be very interesting, because karma is real. And oftentimes when we think about karma, we tend to think about karma from a negative aspect, but we're going to see her get some karmic justice this time, in a way, in a fashion. And it's going to be really, really interesting. Like, I want her to have good things happen to her, I'm rooting for her. Feel how you feel about how she's choosing to do her part in terms of the fight and the struggle, but I want to see her win. I'm tired of seeing her not get what she really deserves, not get what she intends. Okay. She's not perfect, but she's trying, and she's trying hard. And she should get something for that, like, according to the rules of the world we live in and the rules of the universe, right? You should get something for the effort that you put in. So there's that. Um, and it's funny because I have Letty's temper on here twice. We already talked about Letty's temper. Deception. Decepticons. The Decepticons was out. We had Letty finding out, that she had been deceived. Really, what had happened? She had been deceived by Montrose when they were doing their whole Indiana Jones adventure series. That man sat up there and lied and told that child something to get her to walk across that plank. Lies, Decepticons. Montrose was the biggest Decepticon. Then Montrose again in that final scene. Cut. Okay. Decepticons. So we have this whole thing of truth for the benefit of ourselves, right? Partial truths. Letting you think or believe or assume or presume things that aren't true. That stuff is going to come back to bite somebody in the butt. Montrose. Once again, it'll just be interesting to see how that karma plays out. It's so sad to watch somebody actively cut the cords of the love of the ones that they love away from them, like cut them off of them. But he's doing that, and it's so crazy the way like the subconscious mind works, and like pain and suffering, like it will do its part to contribute to your overall pain and suffering. And he's doing that in his way. He's playing that energy out in his way and really trying to reanimate and rebirth that energy through the people around him, but particularly, trying to give that to his son so that his son can repeat those patterns. I pray. And we saw Tick and his little temper come out. It's like, temper. Who are you like? You're like your daddy right now. Is this a good thing? No, it's not. It's a problem. Like, we can see how those patterns can start to repeat if you're not cognizant of it and you're not trying to like actively try to be better. Like, yeah, we can see that too. That dynamic of bad patterning passing down generationally. Like, I don't like seeing these things. So yeah, Decepticons. And then once again with Ruby, and her trying to get into the store, the Marshall Field store that didn't want her, because, that it wasn't her time. It wasn't her destiny. Obviously, her destiny seems like it's about to be way more interesting than that. But, she saw another Black woman, get that coveted role as a counter girl on a whim. Right. And that's the thing about the law of attraction. And I'm going to talk about that in my little tidbits, actually, wanting, you got to be mindful of the frequency and the vibe that you're putting out there. And she has all of this disappointment going on. So, I mean, disappointment begets disappointment, right? It is what it is. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Now, my favorite scene. Okay, I already told you, favorite scene 1.A was the library scene. Oh, I just love seeing the library. I'm going to say Ruby's performance, when the realness came out, because she was tired. Now, obviously, she had a few, maybe more than a few. But, when she told them F you, when nobody, when she wasn't getting enough applause for her a low-key sloppy performance, they were reflecting her energy back to her. But anyways, I just loved it because I felt like she was being honest on a deeper level and just being herself. Sometimes we're so used to being confined and doing what we're supposed to do, being how we're supposed to be, air quotes. It was just refreshing to see her just be real. without all that other stuff and not have any constraints in that moment. Just be real. We need that. That's cathartic. So I was happy to see that. Now, prediction, and I already talked about this, but we already know that Hippolyta stargazing will come into play when they tell her what actually happened. And what I mean by that is when they fess up about how Uncle George actually died. I know that I should say, I know, I'm comfortable knowing that when that comes back full circle and she learns the truth about what actually happened, that's when her information, her knowledge about these planets, and y'all don't know what else is going to happen yet. Low key, I don't either for the series. I know what happens in the book, but when that information comes back, it's going to come in real handy. And I feel like what she knows is going to come in handy at the same time that they tell her the truth, or she finds out the truth, because they might not tell her. They've been busy lying to her. That's another Decepticon that's been going on. They've been lying to her this whole time. So it'll be interesting to see, that. But that's my prediction. She's going to help them around the same time that she finds out what happened to her husband, because she know that man ain't died the way they said that she did, and she's about to be introduced to magic. If the series reads true to the book, so she's going to start putting parts and pieces together herself, and she might find out that way too, just through her insight and her intuition, and be like, oh, my husband died over some magical BS, right? Because this is magic, clearly it's real. That might be what we see. Okay, that's my prediction. Now, questions. Oh, the Ori. You know what? I think I got confused a little bit. I might be mingling the book with the and I wrote this question this question note before I listened to Hippolyta's I cannot speak today. Hippolyta's scene in the book, but wasn't there a key or something? Did I get that wrong? I might be superimposing that. See, this is what happens when you do too much. There was a key in the book, in that model, the solar system model. I can't remember if it was in the book or in the series. I think it might be in the book. And I might be getting confused, but my question was more about what's the significance of it. What do you guys think the significance of it is? Because you guys, unless you've read the book, then you don't know. And also we don't know what's going to happen in the series. So what do you guys think? What's up with that? Because they've been alluding to that. It's been in the background, these planets, these stars, but what is actually up with that? What do y'all think? So let me know. And then they time bomb dropped, a time machine. they talked about a time machine. What? I just have question mark, time machine. Who got what time machine? How? What happened? That was with Christina and that police captain that we don't like. So there goes some pull right there, I guess. He knows about the time machine. But I know that he's one of those people that he might know about something, but I don't really feel like he has pull like that. So I don't think he would be the person to activate the time machine or operate it. He just doesn't seem like he has enough pull for that. Feel me? So that was interesting. I hope we find out more about that. Ooh, if they do a time episode, I'm here for it. Ooh, time traveling. Ooh, and what if they time travel back and we get to save George or something like that? Or they time travel all the way back to the original break flight when they had the house fall the first time. That would be interesting too, to see them like go back and try to like course correct what they did back then, like to make the magic stronger or something in the present. Like I could see there's a whole bunch of stuff that could be happening with that. What do y'all think? That time machine that's gonna come back, because you don't just say time machine and then end scene. That's gonna come back. So there's that. And then I want to know, did he magic the black counter girl at Marshall Fields to kind of direct Ruby to that bar? Did she really get that job, or was it magic? Because I think it was magic. I low-key do. I low key do, because that was too convenient. They ain't hide no colors the whole time, and then all of a sudden, this girl goes in on a whim. She wasn't even trying. Okay, Ruby had been trying for years to get on, and she just goes and gets a job. Nah, in that climate, they didn't have no affirmative action back then. That was interesting. So, do y'all think they magic that? I think they did. Now, what did I put here? Sometimes I be looking at my stuff and I'm like, I have no idea. Oh, I think I know what I was going to say. When I'm writing these notes, I'm like reacting in real time. So there'll be like abbreviations and stuff, and I have to like pause sometimes because I don't know what the hell I be writing. So my question basically is, I see what I did here. Would you have ran when the Revenant? I called her the Revenant because I didn't know her name. The Native woman. Would you have ran when the Revenant lady started reanimating? Y'all know, I mean, she was sitting up there a corpse, and next thing we know, she starts moving and gyrating and doing. Oh no! But my thing was, typically Black people will run. They were in stuck fear. They didn't move. They were just like, ah, and they couldn't move. They didn't run. So that was my rationale. I was like, why aren't they running? That's typically, we don't stay put. We don't do that. That instinct to run is there. So I was just like, nobody moved. They just stayed there screaming. I was like, that's interesting. Nobody ran. Would you have ran? I understand that they came there for those pages. They went through a great deal. I would run several feet back and wait and kind of survey, but I wouldn't have stayed that close. That was too close. That was a lot. So there's that. I want to know what Will is getting out of this. Because he's not doing all this work for free. He's like Christina. He's not selfless. He's self-serving. They have that in common. They working together, but they have a common means, common ends. I want to know what he's getting out of all of this, because he's doing a lot of work, and it looks like they've been working on this for a long time. This whole scheme that they got cooked up. They didn't think of this overnight. They was plotting and planning this together. So what is he getting out of this? That's what I want to know, because he's going through a whole lot of trouble. Looks like he's having a little fun while he's doing it, but he is. Okay. And then let's talk about Ruby some more and her karma, her karmic justice, to be specific. She's about to get access to a whole lot of magic. It's about to happen. She's about to learn some things and have access to something that she couldn't even dream of before. A life that she couldn't even dream of before. A world that she couldn't even dream of before, right? So is she going to be able to handle all of that access? What do y'all think? I know what's happening in the book with that and how she's going about things, but what do you think? Sometimes it's like winning the lottery. If you're not really ready for the lottery, you lose it and you end up in a worse situation than you were prior to winning. You feel me? So I want to know what y'all think. Will she be able to handle all this access? Because we started to see her little bitter side come out a little bit, Will that shadow come out and bite her in her ASS? You know what I mean? And F up, the progress, the blessing that she's getting. Because energy works like that. The subconscious can work like that. That's why you got to work to your S. So I'm just really curious to see how that comes into play. Is she really going to be able to handle these blessings? Sometimes we think we're ready, but we're not. Now, next question. And this is my question, for the end too. Do you agree with Montrose? Period. Do you agree with him? Y'all watch the episode. What do y'all think? Do you agree with him? If you didn't watch it, and then tell me, do you agree with him? And then also Christina's karma. Christina has been, her hands have not been cleaned. They ain't been cleaned. She's been doing a little of this, a little bit of that. She's got hodgepodge karma, but at the end of the day, it's hodgepodgean, and it's definitely self-serving. And she's not going to walk away from this unscathed. And she's already been scathed. Okay. The emotional trauma and stuff that comes with, being told that you can't because of, for years, that takes its toll, right? So there's that aspect of it. But I'm just curious. I low key feel like she's going to get very close to getting what she's want, but she's still not going to be able to access it. That barrier is still going to be there for whatever reason. Because I said this earlier in another one of these last fandoms, like, you cannot access or possess what isn't really yours. And truth be told, she might be able to get close to it as she has her whole life, but it ain't hers either. It ain't hers. So that's going to be interesting. What's her karma? Okay, let's talk about these tidbits. Okay. Really, I just wanted to go back and talk about the law of attraction for a little bit in relation to Ruby, right? So I had alluded to this earlier. Wanting begets more wanting. Bitterness begets more bitterness, which is there is an undercurrent in her whole being and why she thinks she can't because she's busy being but bitter on a level. But going back to wanting, the woman who applied and got into Marshall Fields, she wasn't really tripping too hard. You know what I mean? Like, for her, it was it would have been nice. She said she applied on a whim. It would have been nice is a much more open frequency if you're trying to attract something, even if it's something you really, really want. Try to resonate with, it would be nice, instead of, I really, 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 really want this, the way Ruby did, because wanting just creates more want of that thing. Like, the universe is going to give you what you give it in frequency. Feel me? So that's a little tip. Like, she could not get into this because she wanted it too badly. Now, on the other end of this, I have been getting more into this concept this past month. I really, really do believe that the universe is fair, but it may not always present in a way that you think. So that being said, the concept that I'm thinking of is what I call kind of like energetic equity. If you're putting energy towards a particular intention, then you can still have that equity there, but you have to figure out the window or allow the universe to show you the window to pull it out. So this job for Ruby wasn't the right window, but she's about to experience all that equity coming back up to surface through Will and her dealings with him. And it's about to be, this is some magical-ish. When the law of attraction works, it kind of works the way that she's about to experience. You want something, but the universe will give you something a million times better than what you thought. It'll make what you thought look like child's play. She's about to experience that. And I think that that's really interesting. So I just wanted to touch on that for all of you law of attraction fans. That's my little intuitive tidbit right there, and how my experience with the law of attraction has been and how it has worked for me. Because, honey, I am literally living in a home that I was energizing for something, but I got something way better than anything I could have imagined, and I'm so grateful. So there is that. So that's it, you guys. This episode is a bit short and sweet, but we did it. The most important question is definitely, what do you guys think about Montrose? Do you agree with him? But then also, I'm curious to know too, what do you think about Yahima and her fate, the native woman, the indigenous two-spirited woman in this episode? I was just like, D. I'm not gonna say the word. I'm trying to be YouTube friendly, but D. Like, really? It was just, oh God, like I felt like this episode had a low-key different pacing because it was a bridge episode. This wasn't like the last three where we were just like escalating. It was a bit flat for me, but that end though, there was like, but we gonna hook you. We gonna hook you. And the symbolism behind what happened in the end, that end scene too, like Montrose, his demons coming back from demons that was put on him by somebody else, and him reenacting a scene that we've seen countless times against indigenous people. Like, that whole like the symbolism, they stay with the symbolism in this series. I didn't talk about that part, but that was a concept too. It's just like, yeah, What did y'all think about that? That was some deep S. It really was. And it was also just super unfortunate. I was mad. And I was just like, what is it? WTF for real. So there's that. Comment with the skull and bones emoji. You know, we had a little bit of the, the Pirates of the Caribbean going on as well as the Indiana Jones in this episode. So like, comment on that. If you made it to the end of this episode, give me a little skull and bones. Holler at your girl. As always, thank you so much for listening. You are loved. Stay blessed, not stressed. Comment, like, subscribe, and follow me on IG. I'm at Glam Powered. And I will talk to you guys in the next episode. Yay! Bye-bye.